Good evening. My name is Crystal Francis, and today I'm going to talk to you about what to do when you're being stopped by a police officer. Now, a lot of people, when being pulled over by a police officer, say they didn't do anything wrong, and maybe you didn't. But the tips that we provide you today are going to help you make it home alive. Now, when a police officer pulls you over, you already know what he's going to ask for: your license and registration. One thing that you want to keep in mind is that the police officer doesn't know what situation he's approaching, so you want to make sure that you keep him calm and you remain calm. When the police officer approaches your window, always be polite.
Hi, officer. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, man?
Good.
If you're an individual that has tinted windows, especially at nighttime, make sure that you roll down all of your windows and turn on the inside dome light. This will, one, give the police officer more visibility and give you more visibility so that you can see the police officer. Now, when the police officer comes to your window, make sure that you keep your hands in a visible place. They always recommend that you keep your hands at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel and keep them there while you're talking to the police officer. Don't make any fast movements and only move when instructed to do so. Now, let's say that the officer approaches your car. He's going to ask you, do you know why you got pulled over today? You don't necessarily have to answer those questions, but make sure you remain polite, even if the officer has an attitude. You know, it's kind of hard to really keep that attitude if someone's only giving you nothing but polite things to say. So let's do an example. So the officer comes to you and he has an attitude, or even if he doesn't, and he says, "Do you know why you're being pulled over today?" "No, sir, I don't." Then he'll instruct you to give your license and registration.
Do you know why I pulled you over?
No, sir. No, I don't.
It appeared that you didn't stop at that stop sign back there. So can I see your license and registration?
Now, if your license or your registration is in the glove box, make sure that you keep your hands on the steering wheel until you have instructed the officer where the location of the documents are. So let's say that you're going to reach in the glove box. "Excuse me, officer, I have to grab my license or my registration out of the glove box. Is it okay if I reach for it now?" He'll give you permission to do so. At that time, slowly move to the glove box, grab what you need, and give it directly to the officer. Then put your hands back on the steering wheel. Don't argue about why you were being pulled over. Don't even ask questions. What you want to do is make sure you get in and out of the situation as fast as possible, and the key is to make it home alive. When the officer takes your license and registration, he'll go back to his car, he'll give you a ticket or a warning, whatever. If you were speeding, sometimes they'll let you know what you did wrong. If you disagree, the time to fight is not on the street, it's in court. So just accept the citation and go to court to fight your battle. Now, if you're polite, most of the time the officer may let you off with a warning, but even if he doesn't, take the ticket and fight in court. Now, what happens when you don't follow directions, or you get antsy, or you get anxious, or you get angry? Let me tell you, the situation can end bad. Now, if the officer has an attitude, you don't get one. Don't argue back and forth with the officer about the ticket, even if you didn't do what he says, because you want to know what? You may end up in handcuffs. Now, a lot of times, people want to open up the car, step out. For example, if the officer said, "Hey, I pulled you over for a taillight." "My taillight's not broken." "Well, let me get out the car and see." And now you've become an aggressive. The officer is now on high alert because you are getting out of the car. He doesn't know if you have weapons or anything. So if you get out of the car, let me tell you, it's going to end bad. Do not get out of the car at all. Stay in the car. Stay in the car. Yes, stay in the car. Don't argue. Because if you do, and it gets out of hand, number one, the officer is probably going to call for backup because now he feels uncomfortable, and you just might end up leaving in handcuffs. Now, these are the things that we went over. Be polite. Don't make any quick movements. Make sure you keep your hands visible until the officer gives you instructions to reach for anything. Make sure you give the officer directions where you're reaching for and what you're reaching for. And always remain polite. It's okay to smile, even if you really don't want to be in the situation. Well, that's all the tips that we have for you today. And the goal is to make it home alive. Now, this instructional video is being brought to you today by the Positive Change Foundation for Baltimore's Week of Nonviolence. I'm Crystal Francis. Thank you.